Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. What in the world? Technology. Hello, everyone. So joyful to have you here with us again today. And of course, welcome to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. And a big shout out and thanks to the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which you can listen to on FM as well at 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. If you're in one of the chat rooms, please be sure and pop in. We love getting your questions and comments. Don't be shy. Come on in. First, I have to say, excuse me, I'm fighting a summer cold, so I kind of sound nasally and awful. And if I have to sneeze or cough, I'm just going to pop off the screen so you don't have to be subjected to that. But other than that, we have a wonderful guest today and an even better topic. It's one of my favorite topics because it has to do with healing the whole self, the holistic self. And we're always looking to do that, especially in a world filled with constant distraction, stress, uncertainty. Many people find themselves searching for something more. I mean, that's why we're doing what we do on this channel, to share the knowledge, the wisdom, the inspiration, so this can help you. And these people, us people, we may look successful or happy on the outside, yet inside, internally, we feel very disconnected, overwhelmed, and unsure of our true path, especially in today's crazy world. The journey of healing isn't just about overcoming challenges. It's about reconnecting with who we truly are, understanding our purpose, and creating harmony between the mind, body, and spirit. And I love that. And in today's conversation, we're going to, of course, explore what it means to heal from the inside out and how we can align with our authentic selves. And of course, get some practical steps so that we can live a more meaningful and fulfilling life. And joining us today is Jacqueline Jackson. We had her on the show some few months ago, and I loved our conversation so much that, of course, I invited her back again. She's an absolute breath of fresh air, such an inspiration. I love her book. I find myself picking it up and rereading certain parts of it, taking notes and all that good stuff. She's, of course, a guide, an advocate for personal transformation, self-discovery, and, of course, holistic healing. And through her work, she helps individuals navigate life's challenges, reconnect with their inner wisdom, and create lives that are aligned with their deepest values and purpose. So, as I like to say, enough jibber jabber. Let's welcome Jacqueline. Hi, dear friend.
Hello. Hi, Carolyn. Thank you so much for having me back on Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. And thank you to everybody.
Having you.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us today. I'm thrilled and honored to be here. Thank you, Carolyn.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I see we have some people popping in. And of course, we have our dear star sister, Heidi, who we love dearly.
Hi, Heidi.
And we have Kevin, who's the Sun Dragon. Such a blessing. Thank you for popping in. I'm so glad you're here. Just so glad.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for joining.
Oh, we have another person too. We have Gary.
That's my dad. There. Yeah, that's my mom and dad are here. Hi, Mom and Dad.
I remember. Hi, Mom and Dad. I hope you had a wonderful Father's Day too, Gary.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Wow, what an honor.
Yes, always so much fun. So in case folks don't remember about you and who you are, I think you forgot to put your name on that little ticker thing that we have. Is mine showing up? Well, that's odd. Mine isn't showing up either. Did you put your name in there? Wait, let me
I
see.
did.
There it is.
Okay,
I don't
there we
know.
go.
Technology today. I don't know. Anyway, tell us about yourself, Jackie. Tell us about how you came to be such an amazing holistic healer and practitioner. Just tell us all about yourself.
Well, thanks again for the intro. And so, yes, I'm Jacqueline Jackson, and I'm not a therapist or a scientist, but I do have a background in social work and in journalism. And for the last 25 years, I've been teaching. Uh, oh, I see that note. Okay. I've
Yeah.
been teaching yoga, stress reduction, and lifestyle management skills to maybe thousands of people over all these years. And it's been such an honor. And for me, I started off as a social worker. I also worked in college at the domestic violence and rape shelter. And then over time, interestingly enough, I have my lived experience too with that brought me to this work. So originally, I thought my path would be social work. So I had my degree. I planned on pursuing my master's and wanted a career in supporting others. And I wasn't accepted into the grad school, and it felt like a big disappointment at the time. But soon after, I found myself navigating an abusive relationship that challenged everything I thought I knew about strength and healing. And so for years, I tried to think my way out of the pain. But I learned that healing doesn't come from understanding intellectually, trauma intellectually, or chronic stress or challenges, be what it may, depending on your experience out there. But it came from learning to connect myself with myself on many levels. So looking back at what felt like rejection or heartache became the beginning of a very different journey than I had planned. So it led me to teach yoga for the body-mind connection, to do trauma-informed yoga and comprehensive yoga therapy. Somebody says it sounds like their story. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No
that's
coincidences, as Caroline and I said earlier. And
absolutely.
so, and then I did write a book, another book that is about my experience with overcoming domestic violence. As someone who felt like I intellectually knew better, but it's just such a prevalent kind of myth that sometimes it can sneak in despite what you think you know. And so when eventually for me, that became my narrative therapy, writing that first book. And then this holistic trauma healing was my companion book. So it's kind of a larger story arc here. And
Yeah.
so for me, I started writing this book, and then I had my own lived experience as a cancer survivor, and then also with my son, who struggled mightily with a progressive brain disease, and it brought me to my work. So I guess you know that saying, maybe you've heard of, the obstacles are the path. Well, each of the things that ended up kind of becoming into my life became my work, my life's work. Sometimes, I don't know if anybody's heard of this, but sometimes they say your challenge, or you could put in quotes, your trauma lies next to your gift. So I like to think of, making lemonade out of lemons. And so, getting to work on the Live Strong Cancer Survivor as a facilitator for that program. And then I work with the Other Parents Like Me network as a peer parent facilitator. I've done the Invitation to Change training, and we do a lot of mental health training every month, actually. But and finally, I'm certified to coach Somatic EMDR. So we could get into more about that and maybe practice something together to try on during our time together.
Yeah, we did that last time and it was so much fun. It was so much fun. So yeah, we'll definitely do that. So, it's so true about trauma and suffering in general, and not to be pessimistic. I think it's just a reality that life usually for most humans has more suffering and pain in it, as opposed to joy and happiness. It just seems that way. Whether it's your own suffering or loved ones suffering, or going through something traumatic. So that's why I really love topics like this, because there is a way to heal out there. And like, I know for me, I suffered from terrible anxiety growing up. I remember my first panic attack was at like 10 years old. And I think basically a lot of it is hereditary, because my mom had it, my sister, my cousin, like it was just a big thing in the family. But back then, nobody really knew what it was. Like, after I had my first panic attack, I remember I was in the shower and I had this panic attack, and I didn't at 10 years old know what it was. And when I told my mom, she said to me, her solution was just have a cup of tea, which is what I do when I'm sick. So she didn't know, the poor thing, you know. So that's why it's so important to because there are ways out of the suffering, whether it's better coping, learning coping strategies, things like that. Speaking of coping strategies, what do you do, like on the daily, to keep yourself grounded and cope with life's problems? Because even practitioners that are well educated and trained, you guys still have to deal with all this stuff. It's not like you're exempt from it. So, we would like to know definitely what you do to stay grounded.
Yeah, how do we practice this stuff, right? So I have my book here just because I want to show, like, these are the 44 practices within the book that are free, and there's the information on, like, the top trauma healing modalities out there right now, and they're in the back. I have the research here. So if if you're like me and you like the evidence base, and then you have the practices. So for me, it starts as soon as I wake up.
Yeah.
For me, I like to, one of my, here's one thing maybe the audience or you all can relate to. Have you ever woken up in the morning and you're like, oh, fresh for a moment before the mind kicks in, and then it feels like a dark cloud just came and you're like, oh, then
Yes.
there's this thing and so for me, when I wake up, I want to say to myself, okay, today I just take a breath or two, and I want to say, today's going to be my peaceful day, or today is going to, like, if you watch the monks that did the 2,300 mile hike,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
one of their slogans, which I love. I also like to say, today's going to be a beautiful, prosperous day, and then I put my feet on the ground, and I have this other thing. It's like, don't look at your phone.
Right.
And then
Right.
I like to go get my coffee, and then and lemon water. I do some Ayurvedic things. And then I have this meditation stand right next to me here. And I like to sit there, and I like to think of, like, sometimes at night I put out an intention that I have if I have a question. So I'm like kind of learning while I sleep. I'll put out intention to my guides or to spirit. And then in the morning, I'll, like, when I go to sit down, I check out the numerology of the time, or if I woke up in the middle of the night, that time. And then I write about it. And then I do affirmations. And I like to try to use it. Like today, I get excited, maybe a little nervous to come on a podcast with my friend Carol Ann here and all of you. So I like to take a walk in the woods, and I might breathe, like, as I'm taking a step, it's maybe, the count of three steps on the in breath and 3 breaths on the out breath. And I listen to an ascension meditation. It's like 25 minutes long. I usually do that every day. And then just like moments of, you thought this is a long response, huh, Carol Ann?
Oh, no, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, and I like to do, I'll do grounding. Like, as I'm sitting on a ball, but I have my feet on the ground. I was like, I want to be grounded here. And sometimes my hands are on the lap, or before I eat, I'm like grateful. I'll take a moment to do a belly breath and be grateful for my food. I try to eat mindfully, and sometimes I forget till 10 minutes after the meal. Oh, yeah, slow down. So, yeah, throughout the day, I think, people hear, this book about, holistic trauma healing. It's like sometimes you hear the word trauma, and like, who wants to talk about that? It sounds dark. Sounds scary. For me, I hope that my gift, or the what's come out of this that's positive, is that that I'm sharing like a complicated topic in for the lay person, because that's what I am. I'm a lay person, and a person who has lived experience, and a person who's got a background in social work and journalism. So I feel like, it's like Deepak Chopra said, we can transmute negative karmic energy by making it part of our purpose, or something positive to come out of it. So yeah, and I guess the biggest thing I should mention is that the idea of this is that you're not broken. No one's broken here.
Right.
Healing isn't about becoming someone else, but it's remembering who we are beneath these survival strategies that don't work anymore, or they're not quite serving us. And they're not bad. It's our nervous system's trying to protect us, so we can just notice what's working for us, or we might just kind of, like we say in yoga, that the light of the divine lives within us. Our well-being's our birthright. That's our natural state. And so we're just dusting off the layers of things that that we're smart. Like maybe hyper vigilance helped you stay safe in a tough situation, but right now you don't need it anymore. So, discovering these types of things and connecting to our authentic self. So just moving beyond survival, and like getting learning tools. Oh, and I just want to say, you don't have to live with trauma. The science of it is that there's techniques you can use to release it from your nervous system, so you don't live in it anymore. So yeah, that's
excellent. That's an excellent point right there, because I think all of us on this planet have experienced some kind of trauma at one point or another. For those that never have, bless them dearly. But I think the majority of people have, and maybe still are experiencing it. And then we suffer the consequences of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's another very common thing. And a lot of people, push it away. And that's why one of the things that I love to do and talk about a lot on this podcast is shadow work. Because in order to heal that trauma, you have to work through it, as Carl Jung so beautifully writes about and created the word shadow in his work. It's painful, yes, but absolutely necessary to do in order to heal and move forward. Another thing that I learned, and you can let me know how you feel about this, is that I learned how to not adapt other people's trauma as mine. So even my kids, love them both to the moon and back and beyond. But every time they had a situation that was unpleasant in life, I would immediately adapt that trauma as my own. And I would feel everything that they are feeling, especially as an empath. That's another thing that I learned how to do very well. So adapting other people's trauma and making it our own is a very painful experience. And I think that there are ways to learn how to be helpful, empathetic, beneficial to that person without owning that trauma. What do you say about that, Jackie?
I think that's a huge point for empathic people and everybody. On the Other Parents Like Me network, one of the most common things is that, if you're on a support group for a struggling child, for example, to your point, that it's easy to dive into the deep end of the depression pool with them. And I can say that's something that I've done. Sometimes people say a statement, you're only as happy as your most unhappy child. And I would challenge that, because, not challenge it, but just say, that's something that we work on there, because if I'm in the same vibration, it's, for example, this comes up for other parents like me. Say there's a child who doesn't want to be here anymore, and they tell you that, and that's a tough thing to hear.
Oh,
You
yeah.
love them with your heart and your soul, but if I just go into if I can't co-regulate with them, so that means like co-regulating is like calming your own nervous system, and it helps to calm other people around you.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of work with our meetings on boundaries, like what I can control versus what, and it's also like the 12 steps, or what Mel Robbins teaches with her let them theory, kind of let them
I love
lead.
that.
Yeah, like what can I control? And
Yeah.
and I can, so if I bring, like when I have done my talks on the parent networks and with some of the recovery centers, we try to create a toolkit, and it's like co-regulate together. So,
Yes.
keeping the connection, which is an invitation to change idea from the Center for Motivational Change. And it's about science and kindness, and you can use it with everybody. But the idea is that we can, the science is that we have to calm ourselves as best we can. I mean, we're humans, and there's no such thing as being the perfect parent or person. Like, you're human, and give yourself a break, because that's just how life is.
Sure.
There's 100% mortality rate. So we have a lot of stuff to deal with to be living on Earth. And so in the meetings, like, for example, we start off with a meditation to get everybody grounded. And
Yep.
it's on Zoom, it's national, international. And then we'll do a topic like boundaries, or using skills like motivational interviewing with anybody. So, to be there to hold space with someone. Brene Brown talks about stuff like that too. Like,
Yeah.
we're walking alongside people when they're having their dark night of the soul, and so not negating them, or just smile and be happy, or
Yeah.
some of the things that we're kind of we think we should do. We can just be present, use our boundaries. In the example you were asking about, like with our kiddos, for example. And I found for myself, like when my son was struggling, and I have two sons, so they both struggle at times. Who doesn't, right? So we can give ourselves a break. And then the skills I use for one child, I use for the other. They might not work the same way, of course. I thought I had it down. I'm like, wait, okay, that's not working. So, but just open-ended questions and compassion, and trying to hold space, and navigate all the things of life. It's a lot, like you said, Carol Ann. It's like, we say that the information age. I was researching for my book that humans now have 50 times more life experience than any person any humans in the history of the world had. So we get a fire hose of information coming at us. And that the 24/7 connectivity, we had COVID, an opioid epidemic,
Grief.
political upheaval, and gun violence, and all these things that happen. It's like, one of the things, to your point, you were saying that it's about, like, I noticed, I had a stat from my book, I'll read it. But 70% of us here in the US have experienced some type of traumatic event, like once in their life.
Wow, that's a high number.
200,
Wow.
yeah, so it's like 223 million Americans. And it's a risk factor for most behavioral health and substance use issues. So it's important to realize, give ourselves a break from what we're working with. And the good news is there's post-traumatic growth that people can and do heal every day. So, and for me, I always joke that it's like, if you find yourself in hell, don't pitch a tent. Keep going. And I've been there. So for me, I remember waking up during like some of the more challenging times in my life, and really feeling that dark cloud, and trying to think my way out of the pain. And it did. I think that's why I was attracted to yoga. So over a lot of this stuff that came about for me, my challenges were after I started teaching yoga. And it's so cool that the statistics show that, like from Bessel van der Kolk, and if I'll just mention him because I really found his work really helpful as a basis, because he worked with NIH and so forth. And he says, for example, like yoga is a form of containment. So
Yeah.
he says, like, when we get traumatized or challenged, and I heard they call it now post-traumatic stress injury, because we're trying not to pathologize it as a disorder. It's like, what happened to you? No, anyway, I just learned that from my neighbor because we were
I kind
hanging
of
out.
like that.
I do
mean,
too. It's like, yeah, it's
yeah, I'm
not
not
what's wrong with you.
crazy.
It's how you adapted.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not usually crazy when they start changing the names of things, but
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. I
I
like
like
that.
that too. It's
Yeah.
not what's wrong with you, you know? So
Right.
yeah, that really helps. And sometimes it's not just what's happened to you, but also like what, how you adapted.
Yes.
And then just seeing like where you can, what techniques you can use. So, you know, it's not one size fits all. For me, in the same conversation, I'd like to talk about the chakras or Reiki, or, you know, CBT or EMDR. And then also, you know, we might talk about cold plunges and it's like, or music therapy or espresso. Maybe you like to paint. My husband's a musician and I like to sing. So whatever way you can, you know, because trauma, sometimes we don't have the words for it.
Yeah.
And so when I used to work with little kids, we'd have them draw pictures. And so it's like kind of a trauma is like kind of defined as this overwhelming, kind of gut wrenching experience. And so sometimes like the head goes up in the clouds, like Van der Kolk says, but the body's keeping the score. So we, you know, the containment for little kids, like we'd have them draw a picture of their family when I used to work at this Indo-Latino agency out west. And if you see a picture of like, there's like 3 figures, and then there's a picture of another figure with like big sharp teeth and a dark cloud over them, it's telling you something. And we can process our, you know, our challenges of life. Sometimes if we don't have words, it doesn't matter. It's okay. We just find a way to, you know, work with, you know, what we can, like DIY skills. But, you know, if you feel like this is a, you know, a relational trauma I've had my whole life, then that might be something more clinical. And then you could use the resources, like, yeah, use all, you know, use, like for me, I would say, you know, if you need medication, use that. If you want to use all the tools, you use whatever works for you.
Yeah, whatever it takes to climb out of the, like I always say, when you find yourself digging a hole, like don't dig deeper. That's the same kind of thing as what you said, because it's so true. We tend to do that. But I love talking to you because you have very practical solutions for people to climb their way out of suffering. And it's not always easy to do because I know we get lazy and we don't want to be bothered with affirmations, which really work. At least for me, they do. We get lazy. We don't want to do the work. But the interesting thing is once you start doing it, it becomes habitual and the brain starts to learn that this is a good thing. Because another thing that was a big revelation for me that I learned in the past few years is that I am not my thoughts. I am not them. They're just thoughts. They just come and they go. It's just my brain doing what it does. And of course, I believe, I don't know how you feel about it, but I believe that there are external forces on this planet that are in opposition to good. You can call them demonic, whatever you want to call them. And I think they do affect us, whether we like it or not, because that's their job. They are here because they like the negative energy. They like this loosh that they get from humans when we're upset, when we're grieving, suffering. And when you find practical ways to do this, healing truly does come. I mean, you're proof of that. There's so many people on the planet that are proof of that, right? I mean, how do you feel about the fact that there can be forces that work against us on this planet? I know it's kind of woo woo, and it's probably in opposition to your work and everything you do as a practitioner, but how do you feel about that?
Oh, that's a good question. For me, I would say that there's an idea, for example, with take something like addiction.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, especially in like new age circles, that like it can be entities from the other side or earthbound spirits, or just like draw this energy from us. And so whether you believe that or you just want to do good boundaries, one of the things from my book that I really like, and I was using it today out in the woods when I like find myself ruminating, or I feel like, okay, there's this like, it's just hard to stop. Sometimes that becomes a spiritual practice to me, where I kind of cast out that
Yes.
negative energy onto spirit. You can call it whatever you want. And then I might put out an affirmation for my like divine protection, or my divine design of spirit. One of the ones I really like, and I learned it from a woman who had her foot in both worlds, the
Mm,
spiritual, and she was the Reiki master up at Columbia University's on like the operating table.
mhm.
She would be using the Reiki I mentioned during our last meeting, but
Right, I
she
remember.
would be doing the hands-on healing for
Yes.
their oncology, for the breast cancer, patients. And so she would do the work there while they're undergoing surgery. And it was so cool that they would invite her to be on the board with like, all the whole rest of the
Sure.
staff. Those was cutting edge. And they did research on the Reiki outcomes, and
Yep.
less blood loss, faster recovery rates,
Yeah.
heart rate variability was more like better. So
Mm.
they've been doing a lot of work up there at the Cornell Weill um, portion of Columbia, and it's really fascinating. My friend came to one of my talks, and she's a APRN, and she was just saying that's when I went there, and it's so cool that they're doing that. So she taught me this one. I could put it out there. It's called clearing and shielding, and it's
Mm.
from the book. I don't know if anybody wants to try it, but I
Yeah.
took. I went to meet her. Now she, like I said, she did pass. She also, unfortunately, may she rest in peace, because I loved her work. She also did books on angelic healing, and I thought they were just really beautiful work and had beautiful high energy. So for me, I try to practice discernment. So like, what do I feel about this subject? So I'm sure everybody in the audience will want to do the same. So however you think of these, whether it's an entity or whatever, but she taught me this. I took my son to see her, and she taught me clearing and shielding. And
Oh,
I use it all the time. And if you want, is it okay if I maybe share that?
yes, I'd
Oh,
love that.
okay. So
Please.
I'm gonna scoot back. I'm sitting on a ball. I'm gonna kick it under my desk here for a
That's
second.
so cool.
Okay, so what she has you do is, if you want to try it, you put your hands out, and she's like, see if you can feel the earth connection, and it should come up right away. And so this is the clearing and shielding exercise. And so with your intention, you can take your arms, and you feel the earth connection, and we raise them up over our head, big breath, and exhale, clear.
Ah,
And then you could put in your own infinite spirit, Mother, Father, God. You can put out your own intention, your guides. So now clear, and then see if you can feel the connection again below your hands with the earth. So now I'm clear, and then opposite direction.
mm.
And then with authority, in the name of the Christ light, for example, I am now clear and shielded. And we say it with
Ooh.
confidence. And so it is. And it is done. So that is one that I like to use when I feel like I'm picking up other people's energy, or, like public places, they say, certain places like for Reiki energy, like bars and public transportation, train stations and stuff. So if you're an empath, for example, and you're like, I'm really, sometimes by the end of the day, we're sensitive people. We think it's us, but like you said, we might be teasing out that this is not me. This is someone else's energy. So that's one way. Sorry, I dropped my earring. There we go. That's one way that we can, support ourselves if you like to try that.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to definitely be using that. I mean, I do other grounding things, but that one I really like because you're feeling the earth energy, which if you put your two hands together, you can feel your own energy in between them both. And I like that because you're not only clearing, but you're protecting and grounding. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, so that's the part of the Reiki chapter in the book. And also when I sit in the morning, I'll do my my Reiki and I send it to, myself, my family, and the greater family. And then if there's people I know who are struggling, I've put out the intention. And so it's just part of a practice.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's funny. One thing that I started implementing recently is I love Professor Moto's work with water. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And for folks that don't know, definitely go check it out. Well, anyway, he froze water and he spoke beautiful words over some of it and negative language over another batch of it. And the difference, it was incredible. The water was twisted and negative and awful when he spoke to it negatively. So I figured, I'm in the shower. I'm having water fall all over me. So why not verbally, because we are what we speak, right? We are the words we say. They're very powerful. So I started saying, and I mean, people, if anybody was here to hear me, they would think I'm cuckoo, but who cares? And I started saying things, beautiful words of gratitude, appreciation, healing, stuff like that. And I got into the habit of doing that every day. And it's amazing when you get out of the shower, you really feel invigorated. And I can't quite describe it, but it's really made a difference in my morning ritual. So that's another fun thing that I love to do.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. Or yeah, and sometimes you could, if, for example, you might call in an ascended master like Melchizedek.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a light shower flow over me. Oh, and I
Yes.
love your idea with the words, beautiful words. Yeah,
Yeah. Really.
it's like an affirmation, like for me, that like an affirmation. But that work is really amazing. That the words
Incredible.
spoken with love become like beautiful, like snowflake kind of concentric, or like what would you call it? Like sacred geometry almost. It's really beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In your book, you talk about the ABCs of body mind trauma treatment, right? And I really like that chapter because you have exercise in there and things for people. You really go into like the forms of trauma. But what are the basic ABCs of trauma? What are they? Like you talk about post-traumatic growth and so on. Like give us a good overview of what they are.
Yeah, for me, one of my favorite parts of the ABCs of trauma is the idea of embodiment, which was a theme with throughout the whole book, with the research that I found. And really that's physical mindfulness. It's pretty much like a yoga thing. Like, I love the idea of this helps us to figure out what we need and helps us to gain back self-trust, authenticity, the things that go missing when trauma, or we could call it challenge too, post-traumatic stress, it could be chronic stress. But if we want to get back in our body to heal or take care of all the parts of ourselves, which is the healing part, then we can start to cultivate the physical mindfulness. And so I love that part. In yoga, we say the issues are in the tissues. And that's why we bother. Yeah. And that's why we bother doing the physical postures, the asanas, because it's like you might have openings, in yoga practice. And I have some examples in the chakra chapter for myself. One of the things you touched on too from this particular chapter was generational trauma. You
Yes.
mentioned anxiety, and it can travel according to the research, and I feel that too, that it can travel through families.
Absolutely.
Things like, especially, war, displacement,
Yes.
but also mental health, addiction, anxiety, and some of it could be learned, or some of it can be, hereditary. There's all these different things that could happen. And I really like the work of, her name was Elizabeth Dixon, but she talks about, we can be the ones who go through the agony of healing, and when we heal ourselves, we heal our family. And we just touched on that last time.
Yeah.
But what I thought was really cool from this woman, her last name is Dixon again, is there's like tips for breaking generational trauma. And sometimes it's like, if you're a parent, you can, opening up conversations with, children or cousins, grandparents about their lived experiences. And it helps to find about their coping mechanisms, and to understand that no parent is perfect. As we know, it's impossible. And, so we can observe, or just like, as we learn, like ingrained patterns, attitudes, and what in particular strikes me is the stories we tell.
Yeah.
So we can, like, if we can, we might talk with our therapist, or say, I noticed this trait in our family. Just have a kind of like a more like a unbiased observer who might like be supportive, but also like we might start to think that, or notice how much our family has, like especially our parents, had to sacrifice to improve the life that they came from. And so we could share that story, and this is a hot topic, I feel, for me, and also on the mental health network too. When you're parenting your own kids, sometimes that's in the foreground, and sometimes might not be going so well. Sometimes it's going great. Okay. So, but in the background is our own childhood playing. And sometimes we might overcompensate. We do things differently. We improve on what we think. But what if we could have compassion, especially if there's, somebody that is like some people find this is unforgivable, but we can be mindful not to perpetuate, like, what stories are we telling? And sometimes we might think of, a parent, like as a small child, and like what did they have to, live through, or what is their challenge, and to have compassion for them and ourselves, and know that we're human. For example, we had somebody, we were talking about this as a subject the other day on the network, and the one woman was talking about her mother being really abusive. And I brought this one up with my therapist, because I was like, that's a good one. What do we do? And she said, we can love people from afar and still have our boundaries. So, and then we can try to like have compassion and work with them if we can. Or if someone's passed, we can do, like, on the other side, we could do energy work, and kind of work that way too, if it's not possible to connect with them on this
point. And I love that, because like I said before, we don't have to own other people's trauma, and that's a lesson, like, and it takes a lot of practice to be able to do that, to kind of say, while I can be supportive and empathetic, I don't need to own that person's pain, whether it's your kids, your friends, family, it doesn't matter. And that takes a lot of work. It does. It takes a lot of legwork. And I also like in your book how you talk about the is it the 10, gosh, you talk about,
I think it's like the 10 basics of
yes.
I think maybe you're referring to like the 10 basics of healing, the basic principles.
Principle for healing, correct.
Yeah.
brain fart
No,
there.
no, I know. There's so much.
Yeah.
This is such it's like a resource. Sometimes people skip around because it's like it's pretty dense. So I think that's
Yeah.
probably why I'm always like really astute when I come to talk about it, because I'm like, there's a lot of facts.
And you
I
wrote the
hope.
book, right? You wrote it. It could happen, but you bring up really good points in there. Like number one is commit to making your health a priority, right?
Oh,
And that's like a big deal. And then feel your feelings rather than keeping them buried. That's another huge deal. And that's tough for people to
oh
want to do.
yeah.
And you know, you
Especially.
break it down. Yeah, you break it down and go into a good detail about it. And then you go on with the rest of them. Breathe consciously, eat healthy, and consciously move your body, listen to your body, and so on. And I really like them because even though they seem simple, they're really the most important strategies to healing, I think, right?
I agree. It's good to keep it simple because then you can remember it. And
Yeah.
sometimes, and also, for example, we were talking about one of the title here is alignment. So trying to align our what would you call it, our values with what we're doing. And sometimes, like for example, this is an easy one, but eating healthily, and I make this joke about myself here, horking down chips while binge watching Netflix is not in alignment with what I want to do. And so for
But
me,
you
for
got to treat
example,
yourself. You got to treat
yeah, yeah.
yourself, too, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're human, and if you're gonna eat something, enjoy it like crazy.
Exactly.
Put on music, play, light a candle. But like some of this stuff, and especially when people might be dealing with an eating disorder, or something that I hate to say it, that is what it's still called, eating disorder, but challenge. But like
Yeah.
some of these simple things, they sound kind of simple, but like we all want to eat healthy, but it's hard to do some of it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
move,
It's all true.
yeah, and like moving your body. I have tried to jog for years. I hate jogging. I'm like, I love dancing, so I'll dance
Yeah.
all night long. But like just finding what works for you. It might be you're more into Tai Chi, or you hate
Right.
yoga. You don't want to do that at all. You're one of those people who likes I don't know,
Yeah.
kickboxing. So I think they, as simple as they are, like one of them is listen to your body. I sometimes think it's so cliche after 25 years of yoga. And today, one of our beautiful trainees who's just graduated, she was having her class. And I feel like sometimes she didn't say that, listen to your body. But sometimes it's like, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
And for me, I've had to like really work on that one. I felt
Mhm.
like, especially when before I started doing yoga, I felt pretty disconnected. I think
Yeah.
that's why I got drawn to it when I was in college. I was like, oh, like this is amazing. The body mind. I remember talking about it at like parties to people. I'm like, isn't that amazing? Like, because I don't think I heard of it before that. Like, and so, but for me, like little check-ins, like how am I doing? Like, what am I really feeling? And like noticing the thought, like you mentioned, and maybe we could practice something to later on with like a mudra and thought watching or witness awareness. Like that's a
Yeah.
big deal. Like I'm not my thoughts, and like what just tuning in to discover
Yeah.
that, because like you said, there's so much going on all the time these days, and it's beautiful, it's awesome. We have all this access to information. I love and sometimes hate it because it can be so challenging, but also pretty cool.
Yeah, it
So
is. It is. Do you think a person could be spiritually awakened? They're talking about it's all over the place how we're going through this globally, this spiritual awakening, right? But yet still feel very disconnected. Do you think it's possible that both those things could be true? That you could be spiritually awakened and be doing all this stuff that's good for your mind, body, spirit, but yet there's something that's disconnecting you and you don't quite know. Because I hear people describing that. They don't quite know what that is. But they know it's not good and they know it's painful. Do you think that's just buried trauma? Like, what's your take on that?
Hmm. Could it be buried trauma? Yeah, I guess it definitely could, especially with all we're talking about. And yet, also, it reminds me of the mind exercises and what I've learned about dialectical behavioral therapy, and which is the idea that two things can be true at once. I can be grateful
Yes.
for my life,
Yes.
and I can be pretty sad or dealing with grief that I lost time with my son, or I,
Yeah.
or I'm holding space for people on stage 4 cancer and it doesn't look good. The things are like how challenging it is. So I find that really helpful to think of that particular one, DBT, instead of saying one negating the other. I can say, like my friend, she lives in Florida. She's the choreographer for our chorus, and she was like, in the floods, it wiped out her house. I mean, underwater, everything just completely
Terrible.
gone. But she's like, and everybody was reaching out to her and like all this support, all these things. And she was like, is it wrong that I am grateful for the help, but I am so freaking sad that I
Yeah.
lost everything, all my pictures of my kids and I mean, and we were like, we're just talking about that. That's I find that helpful. To be, it's like it's okay to have two things at once that seem
Yeah.
different. Instead of saying but I am grateful, but it's like I'm grateful and I am also
Yeah.
deeply grieving the loss of whatever that may be in
Absolutely.
your life.
Yeah. And that's been my life for the past 4+ years after losing my husband. I have so much gratitude for everything, and yet still, deeply mourning his loss. So you're exactly correct about that. Two things as opposite as they are can be true at the same time. What do you think people should do, Jackie, when because sometimes you can feel guilty about that too. You could say to yourself, I should just stop, feeling this way because I have a lot of good things in my life. And people tend to suppress that. They just feel, oh, that's really cynical of me to be whining about X, Y, and Z when I have so many good things. So what do you think would be beneficial for someone that's experiencing that? How would they kind of tackle those emotions?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good one, Carol Ann. Um, so yeah, so maybe tackling. Say again what you were saying. Can you repeat
Oh,
that?
yeah,
Because I had an
absolutely.
idea and it flew out my mind. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So you're feeling these two emotions, gratitude, but yet you're feeling
Okay, I
how
got it. Yeah,
do
yeah. And
you
so
right,
sometimes,
how do you
like,
not feel guilty? How do you not feel
right.
guilty?
Well, one of the things on the mental health network we say is should. You know how I should be doing this, I should be feeling that, and we always say to each other, "Don't should all over yourself."
Oh, I love that.
Like,
I love that.
you're allowed to feel your feelings. We're going back to that really basic ABCs of,
Yeah,
it's like, you're allowed to feel all your feelings. And it was so cute. One of the other parents said to me, she goes, I remember my dad saying, oh, your feelings are all welcome here, whatever they may be. I'm like, wow, that's really cool to say to someone that whatever you
yeah,
got going on, you are welcome here at the table. Like how, like that's really
yeah,
compassion. That's
yeah,
really
that
sweet.
is.
So we
That's
can try to have that for ourselves. Like this is the work of Dr. Kristen Neff, who I really like. She does work on self-compassion and mindfulness, and she's so sweet. She says she calls her critical mind um, Aunt Ida. And she's
yeah.
like, I see what's happening. Aunt Ida's at it again, or
Oh,
so we can
that's
say
funny.
we can watch our thoughts and know we're not them, and it's okay. We're allowed to
That,
feel our feelings, and when we try to bring our feelings like Thich Nhat Hanh says, we hold them with our awareness, like a mother holding a baby, and it
yeah,
can
yeah,
settle down because it feels, it's been acknowledged. Um, I used to be really afraid of some feelings. I'm like, if I let this out of it's like Pandora's box. It's going to be like rage is going to come out and it won't stop.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
that's
heard
a big one.
one mother saying, I can't stop crying. And it's like, so sometimes like we try to, one of the ideas in somatic experiencing is trying to like, or Bessel van der Kolk calls it, treat yourself like a kindergartner. Like, okay, what, you go take a nap. Okay, you can take a nap and just little bits at a time. If you need, let it out, but you don't have
Yeah.
to like deal with everything all at once. You don't
Yeah.
have to be perfect, but you can take it in little, like they call it titration, which is a
Mm,
chemistry term, which means this is how they titrate like, medicine, little bits at a time. We don't need to go from 0 to 100 milligrams. We
yeah.
just do a little bit at a time. So,
Yeah.
you take a breath, you take a nap, you go get a snack, you need to cry, let it out. You take a shower, you visualize the light. So we try not to overwhelm the nervous system because it might already
Mm,
be overwhelmed.
yeah.
So admonishing it or shooting ourselves
Love that. I
it's
like
like, it can sometimes it doesn't help in my experience.
Yeah, yeah. So what, people hear the words holistic trauma healing, and to some people it's a turnoff. They're like, I don't know what that means. Well, what
Yeah.
is holistic? What does it mean, holistic? It's like it sounds like hippie stuff. And that's the furthest thing from the truth, right? So there's like a definition for what it is. So maybe you could kind of go over what it means. What does holistic trauma healing mean? Just so folks could get a good understanding of it.
Yeah. So it's including the body, mind, and spirit, like creating a toolkit that supports you in body, mind, and spirit. So it means like the whole person. So we're not negating our physicality, or like it kind of goes back to those 10 healing principles at the beginning, like the basics. So it's like, how do we, be creative, or maybe it's color, like maybe we like, we want to find an attitude of gratitude because we can say right now life sucks, but I can look out the window right now and I have a hummingbird feeder and there's a hummingbird, and right now that's really beautiful that I can zoom in to be present, or zoom out and look at the nuggets of wisdom I might be gaining. But what the idea of it is it's really about who wants to talk about, again, trauma. It's like, but I don't want to live in darkness. I don't want to write a book about domestic violence. I was like, who the heck wants to read that? But I hope that I can, like my friend gave me a necklace. It's one of the things, in the chapters, it's called Choose Joy. So it's
Mm,
all about lightening up. Like enlightenment is lightening up. So how do we dust off these old patterns, or these old or these old physiological stuck responses in our body that live there? And that can look like hypervigilance,
yeah.
nightmares, unable to sleep, all. So we're working to focus on all, what sounds like a lot. I hate to say all of them together, little bits at a time, but to look at the whole person and to try to
Yeah, and
find
I
it.
really like that. I think that's so important. And I love how science is blending with spirituality finally. And I've seen that and talked to so many people on this show about that topic, that science is now finally admitting and working with the spiritual aspect of things. They realize that it's not just scientific theory, and it's not just all woo woo. There's a nice blending and combination of the two.
Yeah. And
Like you said, mind, body, and spirit. So, it's so important to be able to work with all three, right? Do you work with clients like on the day-to-day basis? Is that part of what you do as social
yeah,
worker? Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm not an active social worker now, but I have clients and we put together like we might use, for example, we might use the book and be like, okay, maybe if you, depending on like, for example, they're dealing with, you know, let's talk about, they like the chakras. I have one woman who just loves the chakras. So we'll use a pendulum and hold it over the chakras and see what's open. She's open to that. Now she's also doing the clinical work, so that's awesome.
Mm,
She might like read that chapter, and then like her homework might be like to try an exercise and see how it feels for her. And then she uses it in conjunction with her
yeah.
clinician, for
Yeah.
example. So yeah, and
Do
also
you do
I
this
kind
over
of
Zoom?
weave it into my classes too. So
Do you do this over Zoom, or do you do it both, like in
both,
person
in
and both?
person, Zoom, wherever they are. And then, for example, like for the yoga and the lifestyle management and um, stress reduction techniques, those I kind of weave into like the classes too. If I teach yoga, it's going to be trauma informed because I'm assuming there's people who are traumatized in the class or who have had that kind of post-traumatic
Yeah.
injury. And it doesn't mean that it's like, but everybody has some chronic stress and there's
Oh,
always things
sure.
happening in life.
Yeah.
So I usually do everything with the trauma informed
Good. Do you
lens.
ever notice that people complain about the stress that the internet is causing them, whether it's social media, it could be anything. Do people talk to you about that? That they have concerns about how this whole thing is affecting them mentally, physically? Do you have clients that bring that up?
Holy moly, I think everyone brings it up. Like
Yeah.
this is a big topic.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my kids. We had our family vacation last week, and I was talking to my mom and dad about this. And one of the things my dad was saying, and I won't say too much, Dad, I'll let you talk for yourself, was that it's so overwhelming. Like you go to get your medical records and you have to create a password, two-step authenticity. It's like, oh my gosh. And
Awful.
so, and my husband and my younger son both are in technology. Um, it can be, I mean, a lot. And
Yeah, it's brutal.
for
It really.
example, I was invited to work with the local Girl Scout troop, and we did a workshop on tech hygiene. And like, what does that mean? Like, so, like, you know, how to practice putting down your phone or, blocking certain
Yes, content.
algorithms that's body shaming or
Yeah.
or like maybe that's not helpful for them. And then we did it with yoga and breathing. And so yeah, I think it's a huge topic. I hear everyone talking about that one. Carol Ann, you're
Yeah, it's
you're,
huge.
you're nailing an important one.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. Like, even for me, I've been working with computers for over 30 years, and I've seen, like, I remember dial up. Excuse me. We had dial up to get on the internet,
I
and
remember.
there were no images. Everything was just text. But I've seen the progression, and in my opinion, I think, and I know this may sound harsh, but I think that the internet is destroying the human race in so many ways. You could have a whole conversation about AI and the impact of AI alone, but I think people, sometimes I'll go on Instagram and I just doom scroll because I want to feel why these people have this need to create this content that's mostly awful, Jackie. It's mostly doom and gloom. Very rarely do you see anybody, unless now everybody is being positive about the soccer thing. Like, there's so many
World Cup.
foreigners coming in the World Cup, and that's a beautiful thing to see. They're posting wonderful videos. So that was like a breath of fresh air, instead of doom scrolling and just seeing horrible negative videos of people, what I like to say, just bitching and complaining. That's what they're, if it's not one topic, it's another. And that does affect us mentally and physically because the stress that it causes, right? So what do you do to not get hooked up into that? And what recommendations do you have for us to not get wrapped up in like just doom scrolling?
Yeah. That's a great point. Doom scrolling, as I actually was giving a talk the other
Oh,
day, and we were talking about it as part of the like the survival response. They're not necessarily connected, but fight, flight, freeze, and
yeah.
flight. It could be anxiety, overworking, overthinking, doom
Yes.
scrolling, and for me, I caught myself doing that last night. It's like I go down a rabbit hole and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
not helping me at all. And then I stay there. I'm like, why are you sitting here doing that?
Yeah.
And I've seen it and there's a whole it is a big challenge, especially it's interesting that see the younger generations that had they grew up with this. And
Yeah.
then we had COVID too. So like everything was online. And
Yeah.
I'm impressed with what you do, Carol Ann. You run this whole show. You're constantly online, and I use it with Zoom for the mental health network and
Yes,
with
of course.
clients, and it can be great with family. But for me, yeah, there's an addictive algorithm that everybody's like, it can feed you like what you want to hear, or even what you're looking. You search something online, and it's downright a little scary sometimes. So for me, I've been enjoying putting the phone down for like a bit of time, and like it's so funny. Do you all notice this? If you leave your phone somewhere, you're like, oh my god, I don't have
Panic.
my phone for 20 minutes.
Panic.
It's crazy.
Yeah. How many times have you run out like to the store and forgot your phone and actually went home and got it? Because God forbid you should go to the store without your phone. We did that our whole lives. We had no phones, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love what Hillbilly Herb saying. Everyone needs to post more beauty, drown the doom. Happy Wednesday. That is beautiful.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. He's
Yeah,
full of so much wonderful.
yeah, and that was
Yeah.
beautiful. And in yoga, we say place a positive alongside the negative, like with your thinking, or maybe with your
Yeah.
scrolling, like or take a break, wait till later in the day. Or one thing for tech hygiene I like is maybe I just check my email, twice a day. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You know,
there's like little parameters, and being
yeah.
outside, or if you're sitting around, say you have to be on, like my husband works on Zoom calls. He has global hours. I mean, it's like consistently. And then there's like different Slacks and feeds, and they're all coming in. I have that with some chats because I'm like involved in these different places. And like
Sure.
sometimes they'll be like endless, like bing, bing, bing. And it's
Oh,
like,
it's
that
crazy.
is, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm, I'm working on that actually lately. I've been like, I wanted to like, I closed down one of the chats, and I thought, I'm going to take a break from some this and that. Like it's a real modern challenge.
No,
And
it really is. Like I've stepped away from social media big time. I have to use it to like promote the show and stuff like that.
yes.
But I try not to get like too wrapped up in it anymore because I noticed for myself that it was so bad mentally because you can't help it. Like you're always when you're scrolling around. I mean, these poor kids today, no wonder they're suffering from the effects of it because you compare yourself to other people's lives and you look at them traveling and doing all this wonderful stuff and then it's natural to think, oh, poor me, they're out having a ball and I'm over here suffering. But see, we all know that that's just the facade. It's not the real world. And that's what I think people need to remember that this is not the real world. Yes, this is a real beautiful conversation, but it's to promote health and to be beneficial for people. Like we're out here doing this, you and I. Why? Because we want to help people. We're not doing it really for any self gain. I mean, of course you want to sell your book, of course you do. And of course I like to get clicks and likes. It's a good thing for algorithm, but it's not top priority. The top priority is because we want to reach, and you said this out of the gate earlier in the conversation, you did what you did, and you're doing what you're doing because you wanted to help other people. Am I right, Jackie?
Yeah, I felt like, and that's like the idea. This is another Deepak Chopra idea that when you help others, you're helping yourself. So it's a
Absolutely.
little selfish, but it's your service. And and there is seemed to be a correlation for me too. Like I had gone, I saw the Social Dilemma documentary, so I shut everything down. I mentioned this before, and then I was like, oh, I need to get on there for my book. But I noticed that the more time I'm on, the more stress I feel. So when I can, I try to like stay off. To
Yeah.
your point, and it might be people's jobs; they have to stay on there, and or that's fine.
Yeah.
Or I really enjoy FaceTime with my son who
Oh,
lives
that's
out
different though.
west.
Yeah.
So
That's using technology. Right.
yeah,
That's
so
a beautiful.
that can be a really positive. And then I had this incident on the so I've been on the support network for about 4 or 5 years, four something like that. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but it was like we all decided, all these moms decided, it could be dads too, but it was all moms. But we all decided to meet. We went to Chicago and then out to Michigan and met
Oh,
at one.
nice.
So, did I say that one before?
No.
Oh, it was so cool because we only know each other online. And here we were. So, one of the therapist tips from the ABCs is like finding your people. So, if you are
Yes.
struggling with loss or, a struggling kid or, grief or whatever,
Find
if
your
you can find people who get you, that is a huge step in recovery.
it
So,
is.
we all met up and there we were like we've all had our own challenges and we met in like kind of a crisis situation, but yet when I first my co-host from my Friday meeting that I run, she picks me up at the O'Hare and we both just started crying. We're like, oh my god, you're like,
Oh,
we're in person. And then there was nothing like being with people who get you. Like you could go on to one of these meetings, for example, and tell a story and nobody bats an eye. We call ourselves the unshockable people. I'm like, you can say anything. No one there has one judgment to say and they totally get it, even if their
yeah.
story is a little different. So
Yeah.
anyway, we all meet and my favorite part, I had to, fly out there to get there. And I thought, well, I'm kind of nervous. I don't even know these people. I mean, in person. So I thought,
Right.
well, it's hard to get away, blah, blah, blah. And I'm so glad I did it because there at one point we had this long table and we made all the food and we did a toast to being good moms. And in a society where there's a stigma around mental health, addiction, which I consider a medical issue because it is a brain disease. So,
Sure.
like, there's so much stigma around it. And what did you do? Like, it's like it's hard to feel like a good parent when your kid
Yeah.
is struggling, for example. So, we did a toast to being good parents, and it was like this was worth it. And then we went around and said something positive, and we have this little thing that we all got, and we do this. It says, I don't know, it says grace, patience,
Oh,
and
nice.
calm. And my co-facilitator made these keychains, and on the back is this little heart thing that we do
Oh,
at the end of each meeting, like we got you. So, one of
that's
the signs of healing, we were talking about
yeah.
holistic healing,
Yeah.
is that being able to be with people who get it, but also like advocacy, like you could help people through, your survival story becomes something that helps them. So,
Oh, absolutely. I wanted to ask you earlier because I don't think we talked about this on our last conversation. It's toxic relationships, and you had mentioned that you unfortunately had to experience that, and I guess that was very traumatic. Obviously, it was very traumatic for you. This I see a lot of that on social media, where women are just and men obviously are having difficulties meeting people, and a lot of the people they meet, they end up having these very toxic relationships. What advice do you have for people that are either in a toxic relationship or could potentially be in one?
Yeah, that's why I wrote my first book. It's like, because sometimes, even if you go through, for me, having gone through a training to help run the hotline for the women's, or they call it the women's shelter at the time,
Yeah.
but I went through the training and I thought I knew, what to look for or that it wouldn't happen. Oh my goodness, who is
Yeah, he
that?
wanted to come up. This is Oliver. Thank
Oh, he's so cute.
you.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Go
I
ahead.
love them.
Sorry.
But
Thank you.
no, don't be sorry. I love dogs. Oh, I love all animals.
Yeah.
Um, but my what I wrote was kind of what I would have been helpful for me to know at the time.
Yeah.
So I think for me, because I wanted to be a social worker, I made this relationship my project and was
Oh,
really thinking like, oh, I could help out and taking on. I was overproductive when the other person was underproductive. So if you're doing more work to help their recovery than they are, that's a red flag. Or if someone's putting you down, I've written about 15 to 20 articles about this. It's on my website, but like health, the red flags of an unhealthy relationship or the green flags of a
yeah.
healthy relationship. So yeah, if you're, for me, I kind of felt like I knew better, but then I couldn't tell if he seemed like he was doing better, if he wasn't like using substances, for example.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I thought, oh, and then we went to a therapist, and the therapist is like, well, you know, if you're a jerk when you're like using substances, and when you're not, then you're fine. And I
Yeah.
remember being like, I felt like really kind of like invalidated, and I was. So
Ouch.
I like, this was me, like for me when it was happening, I always journal. Like since I was a kid, I
That's
loved to.
good.
And so basically, I wrote the first book out of my journal because I put little stickies on it. And these are the dates. And
Oh,
this is,
nice.
so it was kind of like me live from the trenches writing about, is this really happening? Like I was pretty confused because it was subtle and coercive. And that's really typical in these relationships, that like
Yeah.
it's not like, sometimes you think you would know, but it's called like, what would you call it? It's kind of coercive, and like, I hate to use the word because it's overused, gaslighting. But like sometimes that, there are certain red and green flags to look for healthy versus not healthy.
Right.
For example, like I used to work at the domestic violence shelter here, but I was in the Peace Works program, and we would go out to the elementary schools and teach regulation with a puppet show, like blow out the candle, smell the flower. And,
Yeah.
and I was the naughty penguin in the production who was acting up and bullying people and all this. And that was examples that kids could relate to. But it
Sure.
starts early. It's good.
Yeah.
Like we would start early with self-regulation, and then they go out, and I don't know about the programs, other people might have heard
Yeah.
about, but they do teen dating too, which I think is helpful for young people who don't have a lot of experience. For me, I
Yeah.
might have been more in that category. I was in my early 20s,
Oh,
and
yeah.
when it happened. And so, yeah, I think,
Well, a lot of it is learned behavior too, right? So a lot of these people that keep attracting toxic people learn that from maybe their parents' relationships, right? Isn't that a lot of that learned behavior? So you want to attract what you're familiar with, right?
or it could be too, yeah, there is patterns like that. It could be, you might have your own like kind of childhood
Yeah.
challenges, and then your nervous system's already dysregulated, so you're like, the co-regulation thing's not happening, so you can't really tell. Could be, from school or some situation at home or at school, bullying or whatever. There's a lot that could tie into
Yeah.
it, but it's the statistics are amazing, that it's 1 in 4 women in the United States
Mm.
experiences domestic violence in their lifetime, and
Oh,
it's 1 in 7 men. So it's really prevalent, and it feels a little, for me, it felt kind of shameful. Like I felt like, this doesn't happen to me. I know better. And then, so I think that was part of it. Like there was some codependence. wanting someone else to get better. They made a big gesture to me to move across the country to be with me and try to like give them a chance. And, it's complicated.
Yeah, no, they always are. They always are. It's just sad. And that's a high statistic too, Jackie.
Yeah.
It's
And you think like socioeconomic, it's just across the board. Even in I live in an area in Connecticut that's known to be affluent, and we just had a thing in the paper that family violence is up around here, and it's like it's up. I guess it could be anywhere, but it was not. I mean, because I've worked in that field and I'm been with the domestic violence crisis center here. I'm not surprised, but
that's sad. So that goes to show you that this type of abuse doesn't respect financial boundaries or race or anything. It's just prevalent through all of it, right?
Yeah.
Across the board. Yeah, that's sad. That's sad.
But we can learn, but at the same time, for me, I wrote that book, which I'm working on getting published but this was the companion to it. Like, how do you heal from it? That's about like getting out or recognizing an unhealthy relationship. And this is about how do you heal it? So, yeah.
Well, let's do this. Let's show because I always like to do that because you guys work hard on your websites, and I like to, give folks a tour and a little feel.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. So this is, and it's an easy website because it's your name. It's JacquelineJackson.net. So for folks listening, it's JACQUELINE Jackson.net. So definitely head on over and show her some love. So give us a quick tour. What do we have here? You got some yoga stuff.
There's our events. Yeah. And if you scroll, so it just talks a little bit about the yoga background and like some of the continuing education stuff. And then these are like packages, like you can do your family, your individual, or, stuff like that. There's also further into the website, I talk about like, somatic EMDR, what that's like in the coaching capacity. Also, these are other podcasts. There we are.
Yeah, very nice.
And then just a little bit more about like, what does that mean? Like, what is body, mind, spirit, and like what that could look like for people. And for me, I really like these practices because it's like, so I teach, besides I do a chakra series workshop that's coming up. And I've been doing them for years. And so there's the coaching, and then we take the practices from the book. And then I do my monthly chakra workshops at the Angel Cooperative nearby. And what we do there is we put together mantra, mudra, color, the whole thing. How do you holistically put that together? And you saw there I do like a monthly videos or practices, simple stuff that people can relate to. And then this is the peer parent support. And that's affiliated with the Other Parents Like Me network.
Very nice.
And then we just finished our last yoga teacher training. Today was the last. Well, there's one more person actually Sunday, and then they're graduated that first class that we had. So we have a manual, and we teach this year-long 200-hour yoga teacher training.
Wonderful.
EMDR question.
He's got a great question, because one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and we'll do that next time because we're definitely going to have you back, is triggers. You're welcome. So he brought up exactly what I wanted to ask you. He said, EMDR sounds kind of interesting. I wonder if that could help eliminate some emotional triggers. That's like a buzzword that we're hearing so much about, Jackie, are triggers. Can that help triggers, the EMDR? Is that something you think would, because triggers, I mean, even things like road rage, that's like a trigger. You're in your car, and all of a sudden someone's bad driving triggers you. It could be your spouse triggering you, anything, your kids.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great question. For me, when I was doing this research and I went to see Bessel van der Kolk, and then my neighbor, who's an EMDR therapist, she's really good. And so is he. But anyway, I decided that was what I was going to use. That was my first one, because that one with the eye movement, bilateral stimulation, it's nice because you don't have to talk about your trauma, over talk it, which is what Bessel van der Kolk suggests. Try not. I mean, you want to have it's good to have a narrative or name stuff. Sometimes you need that, but not just over talking it. And what he really focused on, and it was funny when I went to Kripalu to do the whole training with him, there was a lot of therapists and doctors there, and he was pretty confrontational in a good way with them, saying a lot of people don't believe in, they're not addressing the body at all. And so the thing with EMDR that I found really helpful and that the science was showing is that your memories, they call them the shattered or broken glass of a trauma memory. So it's kind of like the amygdala is the fire alarm of your brain, and it fires off kind of fight or flight and telling you, hey, get ready to run if you need to, like, so that you're safe. It's trying to keep you safe. Fight, flee, freeze, or fawn responses. And fawn is the people pleasing one, or, to try to keep the peace. Maybe you had to do that in your life. But so the triggers that can come up, it did really help me with the triggers. So for me, when I first was doing the research and with my background, I thought, well, okay, I had made a list of about 8 things that I wanted to work on, because I thought, well, they still kind of bother me. I mean, I was functioning, doing stuff, but in the back of my mind, I felt like I was still getting triggered at times. Yeah. So anyway, I go to the session, and what happened in real time is I use the eye movement, and you can use that. You can use kinesthetic tappers, in your hands. It goes boom, boom. And some people use with the hearing, there's different versions. But for me, I liked what Bessel van der Kolk said, that the eye movement was the one that had the most science behind it. So I did that one first. Yeah. And so I want to not forget to talk about triggers to your question, but I want to just explain how it worked for me, and then a little bit about the neuroscience, and then the triggers. Okay. Keep me honest here. So for me, for example, I bring up a memory that I wanted to work on, this domestic violence thing. And so as you're doing the therapist, so there's a whole protocol, is very set, and you want to have resources so you feel calm. You might do the butterfly hug. So you have resources, and if you get overwhelmed, you stop, and then you can put it in a little containment box in your mind and set it aside, and there's a whole thing to it. So, but what I noticed happen, and what it's known to do, is you can kind of see the neural pathways, how your brain wired up, because this memory jumps across a timeline to this memory, to this memory, to this memory, and it keeps going. Exactly. And then it's like, oh, and then, so what it does is it cleans up the memory, the neural pathway, so that it gets a timestamp from the hippocampus part of the brain, and it mimics REM sleep. So in your REM sleep, it timestamps, memories and puts them in the past. Yeah. But with trauma, the amygdala keeps firing off the whole time. It won't stop. So it seems like it's still happening, which is why you hear about veterans. They hear a car backfire, they're already on the ground, or they're already running before they even knew what happened. And I had noticed that for myself. I heard a sound in the middle of the night. I was already outside before I even checking on things. I remember stuff like that was happening. So anyway, so the frontal cortex is the adult in the room, and it goes offline because your nervous system prioritizes safety over the logical thinking mind. So it's hard to think clearly when you're in chronic stress. If you're the amygdala is firing off, telling you you're in danger. It's like you're being chased by a bear, and you're and that's why you can think intellectually, I'm fine, I'm totally fine, but underneath you're still an alarm going off. So the EMDR is a way to rewire your brain. So it works with the
Oh, I love
neuroplasticity
that.
of your brain. So you don't have to spend tons of time revisiting old traumas, which to me felt like ripping a scab off a wound that was healing. And I didn't want to keep doing that. So I found that very helpful. And it does have it's known to be, and my neighbor too, she works with 911 responders. She worked with, up in Newtown here in Connecticut, the shooting, those families. And so that's her real focus. She says she uses it at the end of the day with the 2 paddles, so she doesn't get secondary trauma by listening with everybody. So she's
Oh,
like,
what a good idea.
yeah. And she's like, you can use it for self-esteem. So like, I found it helpful too. I felt like after it was over, I felt like, okay, that happened, but it's like a shadow. It's in the past. It's not happening.
Oh, I love that.
Anymore. Yeah. So
that
was that. And then I have this one thing I wanted to share about the triggers real quick. And this one comes from the yoga chapter, and it's it's about like what triggers can tell you. For example, and I don't need to read it, but I can tell you that like for me, anger is telling me that a fundamental need's being ignored or dismissed. So it's like, oh, hello, my little anger. I see you. Okay, that's information, Or shame invites you to practice giving yourself love and acceptance. Jealousy is like seeing something that you want for yourself. So it's just like telling you something. Judgment of others might tell you where you might be judging yourself. And depression shows where your soul's not being nourished, and then overwhelm is taking some things off your plate. Like it's too much. What do you need, with social media, whatever that may be. And then exhaustion is like, you need some boundaries to give yourself some space, stop overextending. And the other one is, I wanted to mention, is dissociation.
Yeah.
When we kind of go up in the clouds. So it's telling you when you're unsafe and invites you to come back to your body and ground. So I found those helpful, and I wanted to share those because that was such a good question.
Yeah, we all are dealing with triggers constantly, and social media triggers us too while we're watching all these videos and doom scrolling. So,
the news, watching people be traumatized on the news can be helpful.
So where can folks get your book? Is it sold like wherever?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You can get it on Amazon or my author page or Booksy. There's probably like 8 places to find it. And I think I have it in there on my site, or I could, put it. Yeah. So you can get it probably anywhere you normally shop. And we want to,
Did you want to do the book thing that we talked about earlier?
The giveaway? That's what I was going to say.
We could close with that because I think that'll be exciting. So go ahead. You can explain what you're doing.
Oh yeah. Well, I wanted to thank you for coming, and I would like to give away a free copy to somebody who wants to email me, and then I can have it sent to your house. I'll just let my publisher know, and they'll send it to your house, because I would love to get the work out there. So I guess I need to put. Should I put in my email address in the chat?
Yeah, pop it in the chat there. And
if you email me, want to email me now, or whoever emails me first, I'll just send you the book. And there it is. If everybody can see it, I hope.
You put it in the private chat. That's okay. That's okay. I'll copy and paste it. I got it.
Okay. I might not be seeing the same screen. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. I just don't want to send it. Well, no, I could send it everywhere. That's fine. Okay, so here's her email address. You're going to see it from all the channels, and that's fine. It's Jackie_JacksonUS@yahoo.com. So whoever sends her an email
up here. I'm looking. Yep.
Yeah. So definitely do that, because you will love the book. It's so comprehensive and it's so helpful. Like I said, I have the PDF copy, and I love reading books at my computer, so I don't mind them. People send me books all the time. I love reading them in my bed too, but I love picking up your book, because especially if I'm feeling some type of way, I'll go look in your book for some positive things I could do to get out of it, to feel better. So yeah, definitely email Jackie. You'll get a wonderful free copy of her book, which is so lovely of you to do, Jackie. Thank you so much for today. I absolutely love this conversation. And I hope everybody listening that needs healing, which is everybody, can play this and read her book and get something beneficial. Thank you, Heidi. So much love to you. So much love to everyone in the chat. And Jackie, of course, we will, are you going to rewrite in a new book or publishing a new book soon?
Yeah, I have my first book I'm putting out, and then I'm gonna do another one through Llewellyn, a little more spiritually based.
Oh, wonderful.
But similar.
When you do that,
it might have a deck with it. So yeah.
Oh, wonderful. When you do that, we'll definitely have you back.
Okay. Love it. Thank you so
Jackie.
much.
God bless.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Carol Ann, and to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, hon. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone in the chat. We absolutely love having you here. Thank you so much, Kevin. I'm all about healing, and I love her work. And that's why when I have somebody back on the show, it's for a good reason. She's so inspirational, and I definitely recommend reading her book. There's a lot of healing that can take place when you do the work. And you have to do the work, and it's good. It feels good when you do the work. So thank you all. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. Yes. I don't know. This cold has my brain fogged up. I'm having Dr. Irene Blinston on tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about gazing into the afterlife, unlocking the mysteries of the psychomantium. Now you're probably saying, what in the world is a psychomantium? Definitely look it up. It's a wonderful, and again, healing, it all has to do with healing tool that you guys are going to be. It's more spiritual, but that's okay. So definitely tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So much love to all of you. God bless, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.